Hello, welcome to AQS Inmate Call, and I'm your host, Joel Wilborn. Now, before I get into this episode, just want to give you a quick background on what this podcast is all about. Now, the name AQS Inmate Call comes from, or well, it's an abbreviation for American Quittance Society Inmate Call. Now, it's discusses information that I receive from people who are incarcerated. And in many cases, people who worked in the Department of Corrections and want to share with me, or people that are related to folks. But it's usually based on something that these people had experienced or they had heard about. So it's not completely fact based because I don't do fact checks on them. I just report what I hear. And that's what this episode is going to directly get into. Now, I do have a social platform on YouTube, and it's called Oxyword. So you can go to my YouTube channel, the Joel Wilborn YouTube channel, and you can do a search for Oxyword, and you can see several interviews that I do with the inmates. And this way you can hear the inmates telling you exactly what's going on in there. Some of them are complaining about things that happened to them. Some of them are just describing what goes on inside that prison. So we can hear things that goes on in the prisons or the correction centers and what happens when the people get out or what happened before they got in and things that they're dealing with. And I am a prison advocate, and I've been doing this for over 40 years. And my main goal is just to help people to get back into society and never go back to prison. That's why I call my nonprofit American Quittance Society. It's quitting for good. Don't go back. The people that are assisted by this nonprofit, all of them want to quit their criminal behavior. They just want to get out and they want to be a productive member of society. And most of them are. And I'm not going to, toot my own horn on this one because as an advocate, not against the penal system. If somebody commits a violent crime and gets convicted, that's not something that's a big issue with ours. We're concerned about people that are abusing the system, DLC officials who take advantage of their authority and they abuse it, or they just plain use it for their own personal benefits, which could, kind of help folks out. But for the most part, it's not something they should be doing. And one way I get this information out is to share it with you. And don't think that because you don't have a fancy title or you're not living in a huge house or you're not a famous recording artist or movie star, that you can't do anything to help these folks. You can reduce crime. You can cut back on recidivism, and you can help society grow and prevent crime too. Because if we show that we care about people, because when you hear these stories that the inmates have before they commit the crime, a lot of them is because they're just isolated or they feel isolated or they're reaching out and they're trying, but they don't have all the resources available to them. And there's folks that I talked to that said, if I talked to you before I committed this crime, I never would have committed the crime. And that's because I'm sharing my experience and the experience of the people that I've been working with for years. And it helps them to understand that they're not alone, that there are other resources rather than crime. And there's a lot of folks I still work with. And there's folks that's been out for years, and I'm still working with them to keep them out. And for me as an advocate, it's not a 9 to 5 job. It's constant, it's ongoing, and I enjoy it. It's something that I was kind of dropped into when I was in law enforcement. I was out there trying to get these people. I wanted to lock them up. I wanted them off the streets. I thought they were vermin until I started talking with them and understanding their background. Then I thought, there's another way to do this. Law enforcement for me didn't work. For others, it works great. And I support law enforcement 100%. I support judges and attorneys and prosecutors. And I also support family members. I want everybody to benefit from this, not just the inmates or the people who work in the prison, because a lot of them get into that particular job because they care about the people. Now, in this particular instant, I had a person who sent me a message. Now, with me, I was banned from communicating with all the people that's incarcerated in the Washington Correctional Center or DOC. They're under control of the DOC. And there's only a couple of reasons why a person or an organization like the DOC would ban me. And that's because one, I'm harming them by providing information that should not be provided or is false. Or another one is I'm providing information that is true and they're just trying to hide it. Whatever their reason, it's not right to just have one person sign a piece of paper and say that I'm banned and then everybody follow behind it. It's easy for me to fight it because I've heard things that they abuse the system. Never really experienced it until they did ban me because then I said, well, I'll just concentrate on the DOC since they're the ones that's treating me wrong. And then I can give my personal account. And that's working out just fine for me. So I've kind of put my assisting the people inside the prison on hold or limited. And I'm concentrating more on the DOC, exposing what they're doing to me. So when I do get contacted by people that are in the DOC or family members or friends of people who are incarcerated, I get it third hand. So to get a not directly from the person, but through a third party, that kind of drops the credibility a little bit. But it's something to look into because if you know somebody that's incarcerated who's having similar situations as these people that I'm hearing about, you might be able to verify the information that was told to me. You might be able to join a group of people that might have a class action lawsuit or something going. And I'm seeing that happen and it's beginning to grow. And I'm really for that. So instead of building more prisons, let's take our money that we put into the prison system, these billions of dollars, and let's concentrate it on things that can help people correct these criminal behaviors and be more productive. I'd much rather them be out working, paying taxes than sitting in prison taking thousands of dollars a day for pretty much doing nothing because they're really not allowed to work a decent job and make decent money. And they're getting to the point where they're just maybe abusing the system themselves. But in order to stop that, we just got to get that information out there. Now, today's episode focuses on something that should never happen anywhere, especially not in prison, where the state is responsible for every aspect of a person's well being dangerous medical errors. Now, this conversation is sparked by a message that I got from inside WCCW, which is the Washington Correction Center for Women, and it highlights a situation that could have ended in tragedy. I've actually offered some assistance to this person, gave him some resources to contact, but it's ongoing as of today. Okay, now here's the message. Hello, I remembered you had sent me something about policy on housing and demotion stuff. Are you an attorney? I can't remember if you were or not. The reason I'm asking is because my roommate went to Medline and was given someone else's meds, which happened to be a large dose of methadone. She was received she was revived via Narcan and placed in ICU on a Narcan drip or she would have needed a breathing tube because otherwise she would die. She was hospitalized for a week and a half, and I am sure she has a case. I'm just not exactly how to proceed outside the resolution process inside the prison. Now, this is the kind of message that stops you in your tracks. A medication error this severe isn't a, quote, mistake. It's a life-threatening failure of basic medical procedure. Now, number one, medication errors are not minor. Giving someone the wrong medication, especially a high-risk drug like methadone, is a critical medical error. In any hospital or clinic, this would trigger an immediate investigation. Inside a prison, the stakes are even higher because the patient has no ability to seek outside care or second opinions. Two, Narcan and ICU care. The fact that Narcan had to be administered and that the individual required a Narcan drip in the ICU shows how severe the overdose was. This wasn't a, quote, near miss. This was a medical emergency that could have resulted in death. Three, systematic concerns at WCCW. This incident raises broader questions. Are medications being verified properly before distribution? Are staff overworked or undertrained? How many similar incidents go unreported? What protections exist for inmates when the medical system fails them? These are not abstract questions, they're life or death issues. Four, what families and inmates can do. While I can't give legal advice, I can talk about general pathways people often explore. Filing grievances or resolution forms inside the facility, documenting the incident in writing, requesting medical records, contacting outside advocacy groups, seeking legal consultation from professionals who specialize in correctional healthcare cases. The key is that no one should feel they have to navigate this alone. Okay, why do stories like this matter? When someone is incarcerated, the state takes full responsibility for their safety and medical care. That responsibility includes correct medication, proper monitoring, emergency response, transparency, accountability. A mistake like this isn't just a breach of policy, it's a breach of trust and a violation of basic human dignity. And when these incidents happen behind walls, they're easy to hide unless people speak up. Okay, now we need a call to action. If you or someone you know has experienced medical neglect, medication errors, or unsafe conditions at WCCW or any correctional facility, we want to hear your story. Your voice helps build a record, and that record is what pushes institutions to change. So thank you for joining me on this episode of AQS Inmate Call. And these conversations aren't easy, but they're necessary. The more we shine a light on what's happening inside, the harder it becomes for these issues to be ignored. Stay safe, stay aware, and stay connected. Until next time.